Welcome back to AVL. Time now for more of my conversation with Tulsi Gabbard. Here it is.
Talked about Donald Trump's record on the border compared to Joe Biden's. We could do the same thing with Bidenomics, which was their big play a while back. Of course, they won't talk about that now. But I want to ask you about something because your name has been floated around as a possible running mate with Donald Trump. And what happens is a lot of people that, we'll call them the MAGA folks, really push back. So, well, I don't trust Tulsi. I'm not sure that she's the right person. A lot of different criticisms. You've heard those yourself.
Yes.
Those people, and I have no idea who's going to get the nod from Donald Trump. I don't think anybody does. But if you were given the opportunity, would you do it, number one? And number two, what would you say to those critics, those hardcore Trump supporters at about 40% of the country that say, I'm not sure about that? What would you say?
First of all, if asked, I would be honored to serve our country in that way and play a direct role in being able to save our country and defend freedom and get our country back on track. To those who are cynical or who have doubts, I encourage you to read my book because I go into detail about what I have seen, what I have experienced, and those things that drove me to not just leave the Democratic Party and go quietly in the night, but to dedicate my time and energy to upholding the Constitution, to delivering this critical message to voters across the country, even those, and maybe especially those, who feel politically homeless, who aren't sure who they're going to vote for in this election, but who can connect with many of the experiences that I have had, those independents, those disenfranchised Democrats, libertarians, who will resonate with my experience and my message and understand we've got to stand together as Americans to uphold the Constitution and to defend freedom.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Again, the book is right there for everybody. Tulsi Gabbard, For Love of Country. Leave the Democrat Party behind. We're seeing more of that, by the way, black voters, Hispanic voters, suburban moms. Whether or not you're a vice presidential candidate or not, what are the priorities you see? Because obviously you're actively pursuing political goals and trying to save this country, as you just mentioned. What are the priorities? If you were going to say, here are the three things that need to be done in the first 100 days of the next administration, no matter who it is, what would those things be?
I'll tell you the top 3 or 4 that come to mind. Number one of which is we have to secure our border. That has to be, that mobilization to secure our border has to occur on day one, both with the physical authorities and getting the Border Patrol, the authorities they need to secure our border, federalizing the National Guard to secure our border, and also simultaneously working on fixing our archaic immigration laws that are allowing these loopholes to exist that they are exploiting right now. Secondly, we have to look at our economy, and President Trump has a great record on improving our economy. We've got to be able to get our economy back on track and help support our small businesses so that they can thrive and not allow President Biden's proposed egregious and oppressive tax increases to take place. Third, we have to do all that we can and provide the courageous and strong leadership on the global front to walk us back from the brink of World War III and nuclear war that President Biden has led us to and continues to escalate on multiple fronts around the world. And then another thing that I have to mention, because it just happened in the news, is this insanity around Title IX. As a woman, I can say with firsthand experience that President Biden's undermining and destruction of Title IX is a direct attack on all women and girls in this country and the ultimate act of hostility. President Trump, I know, will undo the damage that President Biden has done and provide that opportunity and level playing field for women and girls, but more importantly, take the stand on objective truth that women are women and men are men, and we are biologically different. That is a fact.
That is a fact. I learned that, I think, in kindergarten.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic stuff. Tulsi Gabbard, one more question or two here real quickly, because you bring this up. The Supreme Court has said to Joe Biden administration on a number of issues, you can't do this. Forgiving student loans comes to mind. They do it.
Yes.
How do we allow this to go on in this country? To me, it would be a constitutional crisis if the Supreme Court says, no, you can't do that. And they go ahead and do it anyway. And there are other issues, but that is the one that's in the headlines. How egregious is that to you? Because if you and the Supreme Court and say, we're going to pack the court, we're going to put 15 people on, or whatever they think they can do.
It is incredibly dangerous because, again, it speaks to this dictator-like mindset that President Biden and those around him have. They don't care about the rule of law. They don't care about our three co-equal branches of government. And if the Supreme Court doesn't it makes a decision that they don't like, they have no problem in, as we've seen, the abuse of power. They're going to figure out a way to do what they want anyway. This is a direct assault on the foundational pillars of our country. And one way that Congress could take action is with the power of the purse strings. President Biden is spending hundreds of billions of dollars that we as a country don't have, and if spent, could certainly be used to support communities like those of Lahaina in Maui, the families who are still homeless and unable to begin to rebuild their lives again after the tragic fire that occurred last year. They are still waiting for the federal government to come in and help provide real support. President Biden's weaponization of the justice system, of law enforcement at different levels to go after not only Donald Trump, but other political opponents and opposition in this country has a very chilling effect on all of us, sending the warning signal that don't you dare cross us, or we will use all the tools that we have available to go after you. Now is the time for courageous leaders to stand for the rule of law, for freedom, and stand up to fulfill our oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And President Biden poses that domestic threat to our Constitution today.
Which brings me to, it just begs one more question. So about the FISA,
yes,
allowing the government to bring all of its power against the citizen to investigate you or me or anyone without a warrant. Last question.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because this is one where, unfortunately, there was a failure by both Democrats and Republicans in Congress, not only to extend the unconstitutional FISA law that allows, as you mentioned, warrantless surveillance on American citizens, but it actually increased the government's authorities and ability to conduct this surveillance in ways that they had not been authorized to do so previously. It is a direct violation of our Fourth Amendment rights. The fact that it happened with both Democrat and Republican support is unacceptable, and why we as voters must make informed decisions when we go and cast our votes at the ballot box in November.
No question. The brand new book, For Love of Country, Leave the
Democrat Party Behind by Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, I'll give you the last word.
I appreciate you having me on your show to share with your viewers the reality and the truth of what's happening in this country. Again, I go into my own personal experiences in a lot of detail in this book, tackling the tough issues of the day, like identity politics and how the Democrat elite are fomenting racism and divisiveness in this country. I have a chapter that talks about God, my own personal relationship with God and my motivation in my life, and how the Democrat elite are doing all that they can to erase God from every facet of our public life and target people of faith and spirituality, especially focusing more and more on Christians. I go into these and many other issues, important issues, in my book, For Love of Country. It's available now on Amazon, a signed copy at tulsigabbard.com, and on Audible if you like audiobooks. I appreciate your support in helping get this message out far and wide.
Tulsi Gabbard, thank you very much for being here. Truly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
There you have it. Tulsi Gabbard really needs no introduction. For Love of Country is the book. Leave the Democrat Party Behind. I'll be right back.